So I have a rational function here, and I would like to try to sketch the graph of this thing. So different textbooks are gonna tell you different things, different procedures. These are the four steps that I look at when I'm trying to do something like this. 99% of the time, these four steps are going to get you all the information that you need to get the graph. So first, we need to find the domain. Now remember, the domain of a rational function, we need to take out every point that makes the denominator 0. Right? So if I set the denominator equal to 0, that's x plus 2 equals 0. And you notice I put not equal. Right? I know I sometimes say equals, but really it is not equal because these are the points that we don't want in the domain. So x is not going to be equal to negative 2. Then we're going to find the asymptotes. Remember, there's two we're going to be looking for here. There's a vertical one and a horizontal one. To find the vertical one, we set the denominator equal to 0, which we've already done. So we kind of get that one for free. There's going to be a vertical asymptote at x equals negative 2. And to find the horizontal asymptote, all right, you remember our procedure here. We'll compare the degree of the numerator and the degree of the denominator. With this function, they're both 1, which means we look at the ratio of the leading coefficients. Well, there's a 1 in the numerator and a 1 in the denominator. So the horizontal asymptote is going to be at y equals 1. Okay, and finally, I'm going to find the intercepts. Right? There's two things we need to do here. To find the y-intercept, we just replace the x's with zeros. Right? We're going to calculate f of 0. That's 0 minus 1 over 0 plus 2, which is negative 1/2. Or if you want to think in terms of coordinates, it's 0, negative 1/2. Then to find the x-intercept, we replace the y with 0, and that's the f of x, right? They're kind of synonymous with each other. So I need to solve this equation, 0 equals x minus 1 over x plus 2. And to do that, I'm going to clear the fraction. Right? I'm going to multiply both sides by x plus 2. That's going to cancel the x plus 2 on the right-hand side, and we're going to be left with x minus 1 equals 0, or x equals 1. Okay, now number 4, we might need to do this one, we might not. Right? And let's go ahead and go on to the next slide, right? And we'll start putting some of this stuff on an actual graph, and then we'll see at the end whether or not we need to do step 4. So this is just all the information we calculated so far, right? And I'm going to put this on this graph one piece at a time. Right, so first, I'm going to put the vertical asymptote. I'm going to put a dashed line at x equals negative 2. Then I'm going to do the horizontal asymptotes. I'm going to put another dashed line at y equals 1. And believe it or not, that's almost enough to answer the question. Right? If you just look on the left-hand side, I know that one of two things has to happen. When we go out on that far left-hand edge of the graph, it's got to be close to the asymptote. Maybe it's above it, maybe it's below it. Those are the two possibilities. If it starts off above it, then it has to increase to the vertical asymptote. And if it starts below it, then it has to decrease to the vertical asymptote. And the same thing has to happen on the right side. Right? Exact same thing. Either it's going to start up high and go down to the asymptote, or it's going to start down low and come up to it. Right? One or the other. So the question now is, which of these which two of these branches are the right ones? Now we get to look into these points. Right? If I put the y-intercept in, that's 0, negative 1/2. That's right about there. The graph is a sketch, right? It may not hit some points exactly perfect, right? Remember, we're just sketching here. And if I put the x-intercept, that's here at 1, 0. So this sorts out the right-hand side. Right? The right-hand side, I want that lower section of the graph, which means I don't want the upper section. So let's go ahead and take that piece out. Okay, now how about the left-hand side? Well, I don't have any intercepts over there, right? I don't have any points. So this is where I'm going to fall back on step 4. Right? I'm going to find the coordinates of a point on the graph that's over there on the left-hand side of that of that vertical asymptote. So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm just going to pick an x value on the left-hand side. Don't go crazy, right? Don't do negative 1,000 or something bizarre, right? I'm just going to use negative 4. Right? F of negative 4 is negative 4 minus 1 over negative 4 plus 2, which is positive 5 halves. Okay, so let's plot that point. That is right about there. Again, give or take, it's a sketch, right? Okay, and that's all I need to finalize my answer. On the left-hand side of the vertical asymptote, the graph is going to be above the horizontal one. So I'm going to remove the section below, and there you go. That's the graph of the function. Okay, so I'm going to do some more examples, right? We're going to look at probably at least a couple more here. Some that are a little more complicated, some that are complicated because we don't actually have a lot of information, right? Sometimes that almost makes things trickier. So that's what we're going to do in the next couple of lectures. So if you like this one, please don't forget to click on that like button down below as well.